terrible. And that's what we have to change. We gotta get to the polls and do battle.
The bailouts, TARP, and of course, this started October '08 under a Republican administration, and of course has been happily continued under the current Democratic administration. We can't continue to keep spending. And it's not like they're even really borrowing it from real money at this point. They've simply continued to print the money, and that's borrowing from future generations. That's a wealth transfer from the poorest of society to the richest of society, because those who see the money first have the most benefit from it. I know I haven't seen my first red penny from stimulus funds. Me or my family, where's yours? Have any of you got your stimulus funds yet? No? I thought it was supposed to benefit all of us. Well, unfortunately, the power brokers protect themselves. And this is the reason why principles matter. The statistic that was given was estimated 25 billion, and it ballooned to 400 billion. Where government fails, government grows. This is why you can't let them in the door with notions of our free market failing. The problem wasn't the free market failed, the problem was there wasn't a free market. If we would get the regulation and the government intervention out of it, then we would see a free market. We Americans, especially we conservatives, we have a rich heritage of understanding, for lack of a better word, the magic of the market, and how billions and hundred billions of decisions a day made by hundreds of millions of people benefits everyone. That's the magic. We can't cede control of this and control of our lives and control of our future to these people with 10-pound brains who think they know all the answers. They can't possibly make all the right decisions. We've got to move toward a free market, and bailouts and stimulus and TARP are certainly not part of that.
Mr. Kelly's going to start with Jim Parisi's next question. It's on the balanced budget, so Jim, please.
Thank you. Our current federal budget deficit is standing at about $14 trillion. Our unfunded liabilities stand at more than $100 trillion. We're headed for financial catastrophe. Now, since 1935, there have been 11 attempts by Congress to pass a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. It failed by only one vote in 1995. All of the states have balanced budget amendments except Vermont, the most liberal of all states. Here's the question. What is your position on a balanced budget amendment? And failing that passage, what can Congress do to ensure that no expenditures are approved or can be continued without offsetting revenues?
Well, I support a balanced budget. I do not support a balanced budget amendment, and Barack Obama put it in his own words the other day better than I ever could. He said they passed tax cuts that weren't paid for. They don't view their spending as being not paid for, they just think they haven't stolen enough of your labor yet. And if you pass a balanced budget amendment, they won't stop spending. They'll just tax you at 80 to 90% of your wealth, as much as they can, to fund their government programs. What we need is what the great Nobel Prize winning economist Milton Friedman talked about. He was one of Reagan's chief advisors. We need an amendment to the Constitution that allows the federal government a certain percentage of GDP in their spending. Call it 17, call it 20, whatever you want. That's the amendment we need. Rest assured, a balanced budget amendment will one day mean that you work from January to November to pay the federal tax bill, because these guys have no idea how to stop spending your money. We don't need a balanced budget amendment. I think I said enough. That sounded all really good, didn't it?
I'm for a balanced budget amendment, but it's not a panacea to all that ails us in the federal government. The problem, of course, with a balanced budget amendment is that they might just continue to spend more and more and more and tax more and more and more. But I think it is a step in the right direction. I think that if a balanced budget is to be passed, I think that there must be a safety valve on it, and I think included in that amendment should be a requirement for 2/3 majority of the House and the Senate in order to go beyond the balanced budget amendment. And that would, in my opinion, be used only in times of national emergency, war, etc., so national defense. But the biggest problem, again, goes back to spending. The biggest problem goes back to not putting officials in office who understand the nature of a free society and how the most accurate scale of how much government involvement is in your life is how much the government spends. Because every dollar it's spent, it has to either take away from you now, or tomorrow, or from your kids. And so spending, again, is at the root cause of all this that ails us. And the ability of our government to continue to print money not only takes your freedom and your money and your individual freedom away, but it transfers that power to politicians. So yes on a balanced budget amendment, but it's not the end all be all.
You know, they asked Gabrielle Giffords if she supported a balanced budget amendment, and she said yes, but with one caveat: she wanted to go in place in 10 years. I don't know, maybe she plans on being in the U.S. Senate or something by then, I'm not really sure, but I believe in the balanced budget amendment. The objection that was brought up to it, we live in a state right now that has a balanced budget amendment, or basically we have to balance the budget by June 30th of every year. And we have a reason why we don't raise taxes, and that's called Prop 108, which stops any tax increase if it is not voted on by 2/3 of the Senate and 2/3 in the House. I think that fixes that concern that they're going to be raising taxes to make up for their spending, if we simply put a rein on their ability to start increasing taxes. I think that if you raise taxes I agree with the idea that you can just simply limit spending, or that you don't limit spending and you just raise taxes to make up for it, but you can stop that by putting that same limitation on our Congress that we have in our own state of Arizona. The states have to live within their means. They don't have to do that in Washington, D.C. We don't have the luxury in Arizona of printing more money if we run out of money. They have that in Washington, D.C. So we have to do something to put a cap on spending and bring them into line. That massive debt is going to kill our children, it's going to kill this economy, and it's going to fundamentally change the way the United States operates and the kind of system that we have.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly would like to rebut.
Well, I had no idea we couldn't raise taxes in this state. We just did. We just raised taxes. The year of the Tea Party, and we somehow allowed a tax increase to pass by 64% on the ballot. And I'm sorry, Jonathan, I cannot let you go on with this talking about reining in of government spending. You voted for Janet Napolitano's budgets. In 2008, you voted for her budget that increased state spending by $1 billion. In 2007, you were given a worse fiscal rating by Americans for Prosperity than Janet Napolitano herself. And this excuse that you were overseas, Americans for Prosperity flat out refute that. They say it would have been worse if you were back home. We cannot continue to do this past Republicans that cut taxes and spend us into oblivion. This talk of getting in government spending now, when this state is bankrupt because of the decisions you made at the state legislature, simply doesn't wash anymore.
Pass that down, and you can have a response.
You know, I wish I knew where this was coming from, because honestly, Jesse, what you're doing is you're accusing me of not being a conservative. And the fact of the matter is that I voted for the budgets I voted for, the one that you're talking about, because I am conservative. Because that budget eliminated the state income tax for active duty military. That tax, or that bill that you're talking about, it also made sure that we actually put more law enforcement on our border. And that same budget that you're talking about made sure that we are going to put limits on our spending for schools by having cash for schools for a change instead of bonding. And the truth of the matter is, the reason why I think that you keep bringing up my record is because you don't have a record of your own. And that's just too bad.
Well, what's too bad is your record. And you did say something accurate. I am accusing you of not being a conservative. In fact, you were ranked in the bottom third by conservative groups of the conservatism of Republicans in the legislature. That amazing budget you just praised was hailed as, quote, a major achievement for Democrats. by the chairman of the state Democrat Party.